beautiful and dramatic moment in the history of sports.
She is gone!
There's almost some poetry in the moment.
It will be time for Dodger baseball.
And look who's coming up.
There are voices you recognize instantly. And then there's Vin Scully. For more than 6 decades, his voice was the game of baseball. Calm when chaos erupted. Poetic when history unfolded. Comforting on warm summer nights. Vin Scully didn't shout the game. He invited you into it. And today, this is the story of the man who didn't just call baseball. He narrated American life.
To light the fire, and all year long, he answered the demands until he was physically unable to start tonight with 2 bad legs, the bad left hamstring and the swollen right knee. And with 2 out, you talk about a roll of the dice. This is it. If he hits the ball on the ground, I would imagine he would be running 50% to first base. So the Dodgers trying to catch lightning right now. 3-2. Sachs waiting on deck, but the game right now is at the plate. High fly ball into right field. She is gone!
Born in the Bronx in 1927 and raised in Brooklyn, Vin Scully grew up surrounded by the sounds of the city and the magic of baseball. His love for storytelling emerged early, inspired by radio broadcasts that painted pictures without images. After serving in the U.S. Navy during World War II, Scully attended Fordham University, where fate intervened. Broadcasting a college baseball game, he unknowingly set the foundation for the greatest career in sports media history. In 1950, at just 22 years old, Vin Scully joined the Brooklyn Dodgers radio team. And by 1954, he became the youngest person ever to call a World Series. He witnessed the Dodgers move from Brooklyn to Los Angeles, bringing baseball west and becoming its guiding voice in a new frontier. Wherever the Dodgers went, Vin Scully followed, connecting generations through a microphone.
The crowd booing. Downing has to ignore the sound effects and stay a professional and pitch his game. 1 ball and no strikes. Aaron waiting. The outfield deep and straight away. Fastball is a high drive into deep left center field. Buckner goes back to the fence. It is gone.
What made Vin Scully different wasn't volume. It was restraint. He let the game breathe. He allowed silence to speak. And when the moment arrived, his words carried weight without overwhelming it.
What a marvelous moment for baseball. What a marvelous moment for Atlanta and the state of Georgia. What a marvelous moment for the country and the world. A black man is getting a standing ovation in the Deep South for breaking a record of an all-time baseball idol. And it is a great moment for all of us, and particularly for Henry Aaron, who was met at home plate not only by every member of the Braves, but by his father and mother. He threw his arms around his father, and as he left the home plate area, his mother came running across the grass, threw her arms around his neck, kissed him for all she was worth.
From Don Larson's perfect game, to Sandy Koufax, perfection, to Hank Aaron's historic home run, and Kirk Gibson's impossible walk-off. Vin Scully wasn't just present for history. He framed it forever.
Friends, I interrupt the ball game and I come to you with a heavy heart, make the announcement that at 6:45 p.m. tonight, Coach John Wooden passed away at Ronald Reagan UCLA Hospital. The great coach at UCLA was 99 years old, would have been 100 in October. Those of us who knew him and knew him well are the ones who were blessed by his life. And as usual, when it gets down to it, Shakespeare said it best. His life was gentle and the elements so mixed in him that nature might stand up and say to all the world, this was a man. And you know, John was a big baseball fan, so I know he does not want you to be down. He wants you to get back to the ball game. That's exactly what we'll do in his honor.
Vin Scully believed baseball was a series of stories, connected by a field and a ball. He knew the players' lives, their struggles, their triumphs, and he shared those stories not to impress, but to connect.
Which is what they do. 1-1 pitch, sinker low, ball 2, 2-1, and they were startled by a large snake. And Madison thought it was a rattlesnake, so he grabbed an axe and he hacked the snake to pieces. But there's something more to the story. 2-1 pitch, low, ball 3, 3-1. When his wife Allie and an expert field dresser examined what was left of the snake, she found 2 baby jackrabbits inside pieces of the snake and extracted them. 3-1 pitch to Turner, way inside, ball 4. And after she extracted them, a short while later, the Bumgarners noticed that one of the rabbits had moved slightly. It was alive. Well, his wife brought the rabbit back to their apartment. For the next few days, they kept it warm, bottle nursed it, and the rabbit soon was healthy enough that they released it into the wild. And Madison said, just think about how tough that rabbit was. First it gets eaten by a snake, then the snake gets chopped to pieces, then it gets picked up by people and lives. It's all true.
Vin Scully once said, I don't need to tell you how good a player is. Your eyes will do that. And that philosophy made him timeless. Behind the microphone was a man of deep faith, humility, and kindness. Vin Scully continued broadcasting, not because he had to, but because baseball was his happy place. He carried grace into every booth, treating the audience like friends and not viewers.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you. I thought I'd get that out of the way right away. Welcome to my Thanksgiving, because that is what this is all about. I should be on my knees today to pray in thanksgiving for all the wonderful things that have happened to me. I had a child's dream, and the grace of God not only gave me the fulfillment of the dream, He gave it for 67 years.
In 2016, after 67 seasons, Vin Scully said goodbye to baseball. There will be no substitute, he said, and there will never be. His final broadcast wasn't loud. It was perfect, just like everything else he ever did.
I've loved this game for 80 years. That's a lot of years.
but at no time did I ever waver in my allegiance to the greatest sport we have in this world. I have tremendous respect for every single man who ever wore a major league uniform, going all the way back to my first year broadcasting in 1958. I know how hard it has taken you to get where you are, and I know how hard it is to stay where you are. And please, God, let you all stay. Let you all have great careers. Now, wouldn't that be nice?
When Vin Scully called his final game in October 2016, he did not step away from the game of baseball, so much as he gently set it down. Like a well-loved book returned to the shelf, retirement did not change who he was. It simply gave his voice a new rhythm, one shaped by quiet mornings, reflection, and gratitude, rather than the crack of the bat. In the years after baseball, Scully embraced a life he had rarely known during 7 decades behind the microphone. Evenings were no longer reserved for West Coast start times, and summers unfolded without travel itineraries. He spent time with family, tending to relationships that had always mattered deeply to him, and enjoying the ordinary blessings he had often spoke about on air, but now lived more fully. Mass on Sundays, long conversations, and the comfort of home. Though he no longer broadcast games, baseball never truly left him. Scully remained a revered presence at Dodger Stadium and across the sport. His words replayed highlights, and his influence echoed in generations of broadcasters who tried, often in vain, to capture his warmth and storytelling grace.
On an old 4-legged radio, when you roar, when you cheer, when you are thrilled, for a brief moment, I'm 8 years old again. What you have done is the reason why, despite the fact that I'm 85 years old, you have allowed me to have a young at heart. You really and truly have been the wind beneath my wings. I owe you everything. Now, people say to me, well, now that you're retiring, what are you going to do? Well, you know, if you're 65 and you retire, you might have 20 years left of life or more, and you better have some plans. When you're 89 and they ask you what your plans are, I'm going to try to live. I have a great wife whom I adore. I have 5 wonderful children. I have 16 grandchildren. And I have 3 great-grandchildren. I guarantee you, if I don't know what to do, they will find something for me to do.
On August 2nd, 2022, the world of baseball grew quieter. Vin Scully passed away at the age of 94, and with him went a voice that had guided generations through summer nights, unforgettable moments, and the simply beauty of the game of baseball. For more than 6 decades, he had been a constant, steady, familiar, and comforting. And suddenly, that presence was gone. The response was imminent and universal. Tributes poured in from every corner of baseball, from players, broadcasters, fans and entire franchises paused to honor the man who had narrated their lives. Stadiums fell silent. Broadcasters struggled to find words, because how do you describe the loss of someone who had always been there?
I want you to know from the bottom of my heart how much I appreciate what the Dodgers have done to put this festive night together. I will never, ever forget it. And I thank them from the bottom of my heart. And one last thought for those of you who wonder about what I will do. Put it this way. I'm looking for a much smaller house and a much larger medicine cabinet. Good night, everybody.
Vin Scully didn't belong to one team, one city, or even one era. He belonged to baseball itself. Across Dodger Stadium, his name echoed in remembrance. Moments of silence felt heavier. Highlights felt different, because for the first time, his voice wasn't there to guide us through them. Yet, even in his passing, Vin Scully remained present. His calls replayed endlessly. His words resurfaced in memories. His stories were retold by those who had learned how to speak about baseball by listening to him. He had shaped not only how the game was broadcast, but how it was understood.
You know, friends, so many people have wished me congratulations on a 67-year career in baseball, and they've wished me a wonderful retirement with my family. And now, all I can do is tell you what I wish for you. May God give you for every storm a rainbow, for every tear a smile, for every care a promise, and a blessing in each trial. For every problem life seems a faithful friend to share, for every sigh a sweet song, and an answer for each prayer. You and I have been friends for a long time, but I know in my heart that I've always needed you more than you've ever needed me. And I'll miss our time together more than I can say. But you know what? There will be a new day and eventually a new year. And when the upcoming winter gives way to spring, rest assured, once again, it will be time for Dodger baseball. So this is Vin Scully wishing you a very pleasant good afternoon wherever you may be.
Vin once said that a broadcaster's job was to enhance the moment, not to overpower it. In his final lesson, he just did that. Because while the man was gone, the voice remained. In every highlight, every warm summer's evening, every quiet pause between pitches. Vin Scully didn't truly leave baseball. He simply signed off. Vin Scully showed us that greatness doesn't have to shout. It can whisper, it can pause, it can let the moment speak. And long after the crowd noise fades, his voice still echoes, reminding us why we fell in love with baseball in the first place. And with that, we close the book on the life and legacy of Vin Scully, a voice that didn't just call the game, but taught us all how to listen to it. Thank you for watching Baseball Legends Chronicles. If you enjoyed this tribute, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us as we continue to honor the stories that made the game timeless. And always, thanks for watching.